Okay, Grumpy Sound Guy here. My name is J.R. Everhart with CLP Audio out of Inwood, West Virginia. We are going to continue our conversation on how to make money doing production work. And the last episode, we kind of went over should I go to school or not, and those options, what those different options look like. School is not for everyone, but school can definitely benefit everyone if you get involved in a university level education, because you can walk away with a bachelor's degree, and that's going to give you some other options even outside the music business if you need to do that, because sometimes that's kind of how it goes. I would highly recommend getting a minor in some kind of IT cybersecurity, because there's stupid, crazy money in that. And if your dreams of being, the front of house engineer for your favorite band doesn't come true, you'll have something really cool to fall back on. So moving right along. Okay, JR, we get all the education stuff. We covered all that stuff. We got a foundation and what direction we're going to go. How do we put the rubber to the road? How do I make a full-time living in the music business doing production work? Well, what I always say is, make sure you have a whole ton of tools in your skill toolbox. And what I always tell interns is create multiple streams of income in your life. For me, that's kind of look like doing install work, for churches and schools and things like that. Doing walk-in work. You can do, once you get out of school and you get a little bit of time under your belt and you actually know your way around a system, and you understand live audio, not just studio production, but live production. You can get walk-in work without having to buy any gear or have any investment. I do a bunch of stuff where I literally walk in with an iPad and that's it, and mix a band. And, that gig can pay anywhere from, depending on your skill level, from $150 to, I know guys making $600-700 a night. I've made $600-700 a night doing walk-in stuff. That's always an option, to kind of get you, up and off the ground, but you can't depend on one thing. I buy and sell equipment. I'm kind of a hustler, salesman kind of guy. As you can tell, I got the gift of gab and I like to talk a lot. And when you learn gear and you become a gear junkie, and I can remember spending, years, literally years, just geeking out in instruction manuals, for gear. Now you can get on YouTube and watch videos on gear reviews until the cows come home. Every year after Anaheim, California NAMM show, trying to say three things at once there, I always spend a day or two on YouTube watching all the videos from the trade show, because I want to know what's going on in the industry, and you got to make an effort to keep up, with how things are changing and progressing. It is near to impossible to be kept up on everything, but you can at least make an effort and know what new stuff is coming out, what new things are, like right now. In my world, JBL just came out. They moved their SRX line, which has typically been a point source system, into a line array format now. That was just released like 2 weeks ago, and I'm all over it, because I love their point source SRX stuff. It's great working man's passive gear. I was not a fan of the 800 series powered stuff. I just couldn't get on board with it. I didn't think it really held a candle to how efficient the passive stuff was, like the 700 series or the STX 800 series stuff. I have a bunch of that SR and STX passive stuff in my club rig. I use the EAW stuff for the big boy jobs, the festivals, the county fairs, things like that. So, knowing those things is super huge in you being who you want to be in this business. You need to understand all that gear stuff. You need to understand the specs, things like you get in a circle with some of my friends and I, and we'll spec you to death, because we're nerds that way. That's what production tech work is you just get totally nerdified into gear, and you become a gear junkie, and you live your life chasing down gear. But once you've acquired those skills and that knowledge, then you can get really good at understanding what is popular, what people want to buy, and you put yourself at the door of opportunity. I've been on eBay since 2002. So, wow, that's crazy. This year marks 20 years I've been on eBay. That's just coming to light there in my mind. I didn't realize it's been that long. But yeah, I buy and sell there. Facebook Marketplace has made, I really don't even sell much on eBay anymore because of all the fees. They kind of fee you to death. So, it's mainly Facebook Marketplace is where I'm moving gear. I got a guy coming Saturday to pick up some gear from me. I got a guy calling me after 7 o'clock tonight to talk about, buying some gear that I have for sale. I'm constantly looking for deals. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not on Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist used to be a big place. I don't know if it's quite as popular as it used to be because there was a lot of scammers on there and stuff like that. But I will occasionally get on there and nose around. And usually you got to go drive to get the deals. The deals are never next door. You usually got to jump in the truck and you got to drive 2 or 3 hours to go where the deal is, and you buy it and you come back and you factor in your fuel and your time on the road and stuff like that into your resale price when you're flipping gear. But that has been a great way for me to be able to inventory CLP audio in a very frugal way, because if it's gear that I need in my inventory, and I have a pretty big inventory for a small little middle market company, because I need to be scalable to do a whole bunch of different type of events, from corporate stuff all the way up to big outdoor festival type stuff. So, that buy and sell thing is a great way for me to find super good deals on gear that I need for my company, or gear that I know that's going to sell. I guess it was about a year ago, I ran into some crazy deal on eBay and bought a whole bunch of wireless DMX units, the Show Baby 3s, I think they were. And I got 6 or 8 of those things for about $300 and sold them for $375 a piece or something, and kept 3 of them in my rig to be able to wireless DMX my light rig, my outdoor rig. And so I'm basically into those things for nothing. It's that kind of stuff that adds to your business model. I've booked bands, CLP Audio, because we're so networked with bands. We book bands. I just booked a band for a buddy of mine's birthday party, and was able to be a middle guy there. Now that was a situation because we were friends. I didn't really add any commission to what I call a finder's fee. For that sort of thing, it's usually 10% or something, which on a gig that's paying $3,000 or $4,000, that's a nice little side hustle. But in that scenario, I didn't charge him anything because he's a friend of mine, and, hey dude, happy birthday, So yeah, we do turnkey events sometimes. We got clients that come to us and they want everything, they just want they want to write one check and bam, it's going to be a live music show with however many bands they want or whatever genre of music they want, and I'm always trying to be at that door of opportunity to be able to make a buck that way. Like I said, the install stuff's been super huge, especially when I've had some consulting stuff, in that scenario. I had a client come to me 2 years ago who wanted to do their own install because they had some pretty tech savvy guys in-house at their church, and some guys that, an electrician, and some guys that are, pretty good at doing the general contracting, side of installation. They just needed somebody to design a rig, sell them gear, and come in and tune the system once it's installed, train their guys how to use the new system and all that kind of stuff. And I did that, and it was a wonderful experience for everybody involved. Everybody, was happy at the end of the day. I made a couple bucks, plus they were friends of mine, so I hooked them up on some really cool gear prices and stuff like that, because I have, over the years, developed a relationship with all these, gear wholesalers. I can pick up the phone and call any number of guys and get wholesale pricing on new stuff. Or, like I did a church install for a small little Presbyterian church here in my hometown not long ago, and found a whole bunch of stuff for them used, pre-owned, that they were just tickled pink to get. A bunch of wireless stuff. We got super lucky. It was really kind of a God thing, because they were on a really tight budget. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to help them with the kind of money they were looking to spend, because the stuff's expensive, guys. It really is. And I just got nosing around all the usual sources, reverb.com, eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Ran into a guy who had a studio. I forget where it was at. It might have been in like Mississippi or New Orleans or something like that. He had a studio and had a handful of wireless mics that he was just using to do talkback stuff in and out of the live room. And the stuff had never seen any kind of road time and was in like new condition. He had the original boxes with it. And we got the stuff for probably a third of what they were new. And, I told the church, here you go, man, jump on this. And we jumped on it. I put it in. They had to buy a couple components of what they needed to do new. I got them the best deals I could on that, and made a few bucks for the finder's fee. If I'm going to find you the deals, and my time is worth something, if I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours, rooting around the internet and making phone calls and calling in favors to find you deals, then, there's a finder's fee attached to that. Something minimal, but, something that makes it worth my while as well. And when you're saving the client a bunch of money, they really don't care. They're totally cool with that, because they're not going to get those, kind of deals anyplace else. I mean, let's just be honest, I got a client trying to beep in there. So multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income is really where it's at. If you have to take a side hustle in the wintertime, hey man, there's no shame in that. You got to do what you got to do to support your family and to pay your mortgage or whatever your financial situation is. Ultimately, it's best to try to do this stuff before you get into all that stuff, before you get married and have kids and a mortgage and all that crazy stuff, because it gives you time to get established and to kind of maybe get some help from mom and dad, because there's no shame in that. Hey man, I've taken help from family and that sort of thing over the years. And, thankfully I've been able to, produce fruit from those seeds that they sowed into my life. I was just crunching some numbers here before we started the video about what it would take to kind of just put together a small little starter production system. This would be a basic little sound system that could cover, 250 to maybe 350, in a small to medium sized club, or even a small outdoor gathering, a low volume corporate, venue like a wedding band or something like that. Doing wedding DJ work is also a nice little side hustle. I still do 1 or 2 of those a year, when the money's right. There's huge money in that wedding DJ market, but you got to do what works for you, what that kind of stuff works for you. But this system would work well with that as well. So it's basically just a little QSC K-Series powered rig, K12s on sticks, KS 181s. It'd be 2 single 18s. I wouldn't go with anything lower than that, because bottom end is really what makes you money, especially with bands. When you get the kick right and you get that bass guitar right, or the left hand of the keyboard, rumbling the room and stuff, man, the bands just can never get enough of that. I kind of factored in like an X32 rack or even the Soundcraft UI24. Either one of those mixers would work well. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that people usually don't even realize takes a lot of money to make these kind of systems work, and that's cabling, cases, stuff like that. I mean, you're going to need, if you got a 16 channel mixer, you're going to need at least 16 XLRs. I would go with 20, so you got a couple spares to maybe, jump between things, and stuff like that. If you went with wedge monitors. This is all powered stuff, so you don't have to be a rocket scientist, a systems tech to be able to make this system sound good. You just have to have pretty basic understanding of how to run an X32 rack, any kind of iPad Wi-Fi mixer that you want to use. The QSC, Q-Touch, I guess, would be just as good. So this system is kind of turnkey. It's sort of idiot proof. I don't mean that in a negative way, but if you're just getting into the business, then that's probably where you are. You need something that's going to do all the crossover stuff and all the processing for you. And then a basic little stage wash light package. And you're going to need some kind of a mic package. That is as basic and fundamental system you could put together to get your feet wet and get out and get moving forward in the production industry. And you'd be looking at like somewhere around $15,000. This stuff is not cheap. That's all for new stuff now. Now, you can go do walk-in stuff, go to work for your local, pro touring company as an intern, or, take a minimum wage job, at a place like that, or get in a situation, even go deliver pizzas, or something. I know guys that do that in their spare time and are making $150, $200 a night, and nickel and dime your way into a system like this instead of just going to go get a business loan. Or if you can go to your mom and dad or something, if you're young and still living at home, tell them what you want to do, sound like an adult when you present this and say, this is the direction I want to go, and I need 15, 20 grand to really put it to the ground. You're going to need something to haul all this in. So if you don't already have a cargo van or a pickup truck or an SUV that you can get this in, or even a small pull behind trailer, that's going to cost money. So there's another 5 grand you could blow easy right there if you don't already have that. But if you wanted to just kind of nickel and dime your way through it, be really super, patient, and wait to buy this stuff used, like I was talking about before on eBay and Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, you could probably cut that down by a third. You can go with other brands. I just mentioned the QSC stuff because it's extremely popular, and there's a lot of guys that like that stuff. EV makes stuff in that same price range, maybe a few cents cheaper. I've seen guys go out with Mackie powered stuff, which is maybe a few cents cheaper, or less expensive. I want to say not necessarily cheaper, in quality, but just less expensive. Guys, it's not rocket science. You get what you pay for. If you pay big money, you usually get decent gear. If you pay smaller money, well, then, you get what you pay for there as well. But this would at least get you up and going and get you moving and get you doing something. Like I said, the wedding DJ thing is a good industry to get in to make pretty good money pretty quick. Most of those cats are making, even like what we used to call Craigslist DJs, which is just some Yahoo with a couple powered speakers, a microphone, and a laptop. He's probably making $400 or $500 a wedding. Guys who really know what they're doing are making $1,200, $1,500 a wedding, and they're booked up 2 years out, because the wedding market is insanely, busy. So, those are some options you can think of if you're trying to put your production system together. That's a way to do it. You can also go get a big boy job. Go get a job at a local factory or something like that where you're making 40 grand a year, 35 grand a year, and don't go buy a new Corvette and be frugal with your money. If you know who Dave Ramsey is, he has a book called Baby Steps, which is really good at teaching you how to manage your money, especially on low income budgets. And being able to get where you want to go in a timely manner. If you got a job making $35,000, $45,000 a year, you could probably buy all this stuff within 18 months, cash, and not be in debt for it. Or if your credit score is good enough, go get a loan for the stuff. Make sure you have work in line before you go get in debt. Don't, just because you build it does not mean the phone's always going to ring. You know what I mean? You need to really be focusing on building your reputation and a good reputation, and understanding it takes a long time to land a new client, but only seconds to lose them. I never forget that. You know, I'm on here, and you guys hear me go off in the grumpy sound guy rants and all that, especially over on TikTok, you know, where I'm ranting about, you know, how different things make us sound guys' heads explode. But look, man, at the end of the day, if you talk to any of my clients, they'll tell you I'm a good guy to work with. I do everything I say I'm going to do. I make no excuses about stuff, and I show up, and my systems are extremely consistent. Every gig, you can count on COP Audio to be there way before the band ever shows up. He's going to have his stuff together, and he's not going to have to apologize for his mix at the end of the night. Now, Murphy's Law says that if anything can happen, bad can happen, it will happen. And I'm not exempt from that. You know, gear breaks sometimes. We all deal with it. You know, no one can look into a crystal ball and say what's going to happen to their rig Friday night, you know. But what you can do is do your homework during the week in your shop and make sure. That's why so many of these videos are coming from my shop. You know, my beat up old tin shack that I've been making money out of for years, you know, because I want to make absolutely sure that there's no issues. If there's a question with any piece of my gear, it comes out of the trailer during the week. I'm pulling it apart and I'm finding out what's going on with it. And I'm either replacing it, repairing it, or, you know, testing it to make sure it's all good. Because I don't want to find that stuff out at the gig. At the gig is not the place to be troubleshooting your gear. I know a guy that takes jacked up, broken gear to his gigs all the time. He's one of the cheapest guys in my area, and he's constantly having to apologize why his systems won't work, why his mix is shutting down, you know, 20 seconds into the first song of the band, you know, in front of a crowd of 700 people. I never want to be that guy. And if you take the time to really become a company of integrity that way, it will not take long for your reputation to build and for people to be talking about like, hey man, you know, I think what people usually say about CLP Audio is he's definitely not the cheapest guy in town, but he's always consistent. And he's always where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and he does everything he says he can do, and we never have any complaints about his mix. That's typically the feedback that I get. You can go to my Facebook page, and you can see all the reviews. The reviews speak for themselves. You know, there's even some, I think, over on Google. And I'm not here just tooting my horn. It's not about being arrogant. I am not arrogant. I'm a very humble person. This is about confidence and knowing your worth, because that's the other side of this conversation. And we'll close with this, guys, because I know we're going long. If you don't understand your value and your goal is to be the cheapest guy in town, then your reputation's never going to be more than the cheapest guy in town. But if you understand the skill set that you bring to the table and can back it up, that's important. Don't be some young punk that's out here talking a bunch of smack about how you're all this and you're all that, but then don't have the skill set to back it up. You know, make sure you can back it up. You go out here, you charge a fair price for what you do. You know, I'm making this video toward the end of May and 2022, and the inflation economic, climate of our country right now is just insane. It's absolutely insane. I'm paying almost 3 times as much just for fuel to get back and forth to my shows. All the gear that I'm buying, I probably spent a hair over $100,000 in the last 90 days just in gear. And we're moving into the mobile stage business as well. But everything's expensive, man. Everything. I got clients that call me all the time wanting me to put systems together for them. And the first thing I tell them is get ready for a big price tag, because everything is expensive right now. Nothing is cheap. And it's just a fact of life. Tech stuff in general, as a rule, even when inflation isn't crazy like it is right now, is expensive. None of this stuff is cheap. The days of, finding a $500 mixer and, $1,000 worth of speakers and another $1,000 worth of amps, and you can go out here and make $400 or $500 a night. Those days are over. It just doesn't exist anymore. And I'm going to do a video speaking to venues about, how they need to really come to the table with realistic numbers with what they're paying bands these days, because the bands are dealing with all these same increases in price, and I know the venues are too. I'm not being a jerk about it. It's just the truth, because I've had to charge more for my services in 22. I raised my prices in some cases pretty significantly in 22 and lost a couple clients because of it. The thing I always say is, if you're afraid to walk away from little money, then you'll never be able to walk into big money. And I had to draw a standard, understanding my value and understanding what it takes for me to do business and turn some kind of profit, because I'm not doing this for a hobby. I'm trying to make a living here. I got bills to pay. I have a household to support and all that kind of stuff. But I had to make some adjustments financially. It was not easy. It's hard for me to do that because I love the people I work with, and I hate to see guys have to, walk away. But you know what? Sometimes the best negotiational, skill is knowing when to walk away from the table and knowing when to stand your ground, and with everything that's happened in the country this year, with inflation and the fuel prices and everything else, I just had to do it. And, I had to walk away from a couple clients because of that. And it sucks, But, the other side of that is the clients that I most enjoy working with were the ones that understood all that and had no problem with the price increase. And next year, there'll probably be another price increase, because that's just kind of the way things are going. I've had some bands say, well, we're not getting a price increase on the other side of it. Well, you have to be sympathetic to that too. If it's a band that throws me regular work, and I got, 15, 20 shows, for them a year on the books, and they come to me and say, hey man, we're just getting raped on this gig. Is there any way you can help us out? Well, yeah, absolutely. I try to help out those that are loyal to me and those that, help me. I do a series of Christian, concerts locally, pretty much for free, because it's something that I'm passionate about, because I'm a Christian. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy giving back, I can't do it all the time, and they are very sensitive to how frequently, I can donate my time to do something like that. Thankfully, most of the shows are usually during the week, so I'm not walking away from other work to take that work. So I hope all this stuff kind of makes sense to you, because I'm just trying to be really transparent with you about how I do business, what has worked for me. The only other note I had here was just corporate work. I know guys that are in downtown DC with a mid-size SUV pulling around 2 speakers on sticks and maybe 3 or 4 wireless mic systems and an X32 rack, and they're just killing, absolutely killing. There's a ton of that kind of work, in downtown of any city, probably. But you got to figure out a way to get into those circles of people, Sometimes you need to go out and you need to do what I call, it's the politics of the business. I call it shaking hands and kissing babies, like the old politicians used to do back in the 50s and 60s. They would come to your town and tell you everything you wanted to hear, and shake your hand and kiss your baby and, promise you the world. I never try to be someone who makes promises I can't follow through with. So, I don't mean it from that perspective, but you got to do the political side of this. You got to go become part of the scene. Understand who holds the keys to the kingdom and become friends with them. And you may have to sacrifice a little bit to cultivate that relationship. You may have to do first couple gigs for a little or nothing, just to break even, to get your foot in the door with those people who have all the connections. The booking agents are a great place to start. Call all the booking agents in your area and tell them that you're going out and here's your rates, and this is what I do, and blah blah blah. I'm networked with a whole bunch of booking agents. Love those guys. Usually work predominantly directly with the bands or the venue or a concert promoter or an event promoter. But the agents, we all scratch each other's backs, man. We all help each other. It's a big musical family, here in the Mid-Atlantic, and the more of those connections you can make, then the better off you are. Now you have the internet, You know, get online and, you know, post ads on all those live music pages, all the stagehands pages in your area. There's probably a local stagehand union page somewhere around there. Maybe consider joining the union, the music union, or the stagehand union in your city. That sort of thing. You know, anything you can do to make a buck, anything you can do to get your foot in the door. You know, when I first got into this business, we didn't have the internet. So you had to literally go out and drive to the venues to shake hands and kiss babies. That's what you did. I can't tell you how many, you know, weekends I spent just out running around doing exactly that, not making a dime, just, you know, hopping from one, you know, show to another show, from one club to another club, you know, just trying to, trying to make friends, you know, trying to meet people. You know, sometimes you can go to work as a roadie for, you know, a big regional band. Even if you're doing it, my first gig in this business was for $20 a night as a drum tech. But it was for a band that was one of the biggest bands in the Mid-Atlantic, and I met a boatload of people through that, and that, you know, jump-started my career. It was still several years before I ever made any real money, you know, but that's how it works, guys. So I hope this helps. I hope all this made sense to you. I'll see you next time.